Good morning, Feaster Falcons. My name is Dr. Slayman, and I'm so happy to welcome you to our middle school orientation. It is virtual again for this school year, and we have our whole entire middle school team here to be able to greet you. We're so excited to be welcoming our students tomorrow. After for many of you, it's been a long 18 months since we haven't seen you. For some of you, we just saw you in June and we already miss you. And so we're so happy for you to be able to join us this morning. And so we do have a two-part event today. Part one of our orientation is going to be going over our middle school expectations. Well, you'll get a chance to meet all of our middle school team. Part two of our event will be done by the South Bay Community Services, where they will walk us through the Here Now program, which is a partnership that we've established this school year, where you'll get an overview today, parents, of what that program entails. Our students later will get also a 1 hour training in their rooms as well, and then our staff as well. This is an important partnership for us to just be proactive in supporting our students and our families. And so with that, I just want to show you the agenda that we're going to cover for part one, and then also leave it to part two and me later on. So we will get a chance to meet the entire middle school team. We'll go over our new schedule for the 21-22 school year. We'll go over our new colors for the middle school. Physical education will be covered all by our PE coaches. And we'll also go over behavior and conduct policy, how we will handle iPads and cell phones, access to Jupiter Ed, the electives that we'll be offering this upcoming school year. And then we'll end with just some school protocols such as community service, our graduation requirements, study hall, and grading and honor roll. And at the very end, like we had just discussed, we'll turn it over to our partners for the Here Now program, and we will be taking questions and answers. In your box, you should see a Q&A, or you should see a little diagram with a symbol with a little question mark on it. You will need to click on that to be able to ask us a question, and we're able to see the questions live. And so if you have any questions at all as we're going through the presentation, please make sure to type in your question and we will take your questions at the end. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our middle school team, who will be introducing themselves to you and where they are going to be located this school year. So I'll hand it off first to our humanities team with Ms. Hale.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Ms. Hale. I am one of the humanities teachers on the 7th grade team, and I am in room 802 this school year. Welcome back, everyone.
Hi, I'm Ms. Hazelton. I am also teaching English and history this year, and I am in room 803.
And we'll turn it over to our math and science team, 7th grade.
Good morning, my name is Mark Frazier, and I've been teaching at Feaster for a very long time. I may have had some of your brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, and I am in room 801 teaching math and science.
Hi everyone, this is Miss Morris. I have also been here for quite a long time, started off in the elementary school and been up here for quite a while. I'm 7th grade, I'm math and science, and I'm in room 804. I look forward to seeing you.
Great, and we'll hand it off to our 8th grade team with, we have a new member of our team, Ms. Guerrero.
Good morning, everyone. I am Ms. Guerrero, and I am in room 805, and I will be teaching humanities and English language arts. And I hope to see a new familiar faces. So I was in 6th grade for the past 3 years, and now I am in 8th grade with you all.
Great, and we don't, or actually I do see, is Mr. Hill here with us? Mr. Hill, we'll have you introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mr. Hill. I've been teaching 8th grade for the past 4 or 5 years now up here. I teach humanities as well, so English language arts and history. I'll be taking over the AVID elective this year, so excited to do the first year of AVID and continuing that for some of you who have taken it last year or are interested in taking it for the first time this year. So I'm looking forward to meeting everyone. I hope everyone had a great summer.
All right, and we'll hand it off to our math and science 8th grade team. Ms. Malloy.
Hi, I'm Ms. Malloy. I'm teaching 8th grade math and science, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some familiar faces from 7th grade, and I can't wait to see everyone tomorrow.
Great, and I wanted to introduce you. We have Miss Medina is going to start off the year on maternity leave. However, we do have a wonderful long-term sub, Miss Ackland. If you'd like to introduce yourselves. She may be having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I'll turn it over to our PE department first so that they can introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. Mr. Guglielmo, Coach G to most of the kids. I've also been here quite a while at this point. This is my 8th year, and so I've known a lot of the students in 8th grade and 7th grade. I've known you guys since kindergarten or 1st grade, so I've known you guys a long time. I'm also the athletic director of the school, so I'm in charge of all the sports teams and the sports program. So encourage your siblings to try out for our sports. We are in room 1501, way out by the playground, and excited for a new school year.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Coach Johnson. The students know me as Coach Johnson as well. Just like Coach G, this is my 8th year coming up, and we look forward to having you guys back here on campus at our brand new campus, basically, our field and track, and we're very, very excited about that. You can always reach us or find us in room 1501. If we're not in the room, we'll be out there on the blacktop or either on the field. So you will know where to find us. Outside of teaching PE, I'm also I'm the flag football coach for middle school, and then also I am the coach for the boys basketball as well for middle school. But once again, hopefully you guys had a restful and relaxing summer, and now you guys are ready to get back and get to work.
Great, and I'll turn it over to our counselor who supports our 6th through 8th grade students, Ms. Haro.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mrs. Haro, and like Dr. Slayman said, I'll be primarily working with 6th through 8th grade, so I'm looking forward to having a wonderful year with you all.
And we have a brand new position this school year, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hio, a former middle school teacher who will now be supporting as an intervention teacher for our 6th through 8th grade students.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm so excited to see you all tomorrow. And so I'm over here in room 1304, which is next to Mr. Roel, but I think that you'll actually just see me in your rooms every single day. So I'm really excited to see all of you, and I get to know every single one of you. And I'm so, so excited to see you and see you tomorrow and be the most helpful I can be to you in your classrooms. So welcome back, and we are so excited to see you.
Great, and last but not least, we have a couple members of our administration team. I'll let our new executive director introduce himself to our community. Mr. Villarreal.
Good morning, Feaster students and parents. Yes, Mr. Villarreal here, your new executive director. I'm excited to get to know all our students, all our families, and I'm also extremely excited about this amazing team that is going to be receiving and working with students all year. And I am here to support the team to ensure that students are having the best possible experience while they are learning every single day here at Feaster Charter School. Thank you.
Wonderful, and although they are not with us because they're supporting teachers currently at the school site, we do have our STEM principal is Dr. Motzinger, our VAPA principal is Dr. Dominguez, and I am going to continue to support in the middle school capacity, and my name is Dr. Slayman, and I'm the associate principal. I work primarily with the middle school students, so you'll be seeing a lot of me for the next 2 years. If you're a 7th grader or if you're an 8th grader, I'm happy to continue working with you this school year. And so with that, we'll go ahead and look at our middle school uniform that has slightly been changed. So this school year for tops, we have a solid burgundy, black or gray polo shirt, t-shirt or blouse that our students can choose from. So we've added just some additional colors to the choices that students can select from. They can also select a solid burgundy or black or gray jacket, sweatshirt, or hoodie. So we do ask that all of our students, the tops be burgundy, black, or gray for both your top and then also for your sweatshirt or hoodie. For bottoms, we're asking for all of our middle school students, you have a choice between two colors. You can either choose khaki or black trousers, shorts, skirts, or skirts. And we're asking again, just like in past normal years, no jeans or jeggings of any kind. And so we do ask parents if you can please help us out every single morning with making sure that students are in the appropriate colors. And our PE coaches will go over the PE uniform. This is just the regular school uniform that we ask for everyone to be at. And Miss Acuna, our parent liaison, is going to be selling uniforms and has been selling uniforms at the front of the school. And so if you would like to stop by and purchase a uniform, please do so. Miss Acuna is there at the front. You're also welcome to shop at any of our neighboring stores, as long as, again, it's a solid colors. We do not mind if you shop anywhere else, but we do have uniforms here on campus for purchase. And so with that, we'll also go over our dress code. So for middle school only, we ask that students can wear mascara and lip gloss again if they choose to, but we're asking for makeup, if used, be of a natural color and not be distracting. Same with hair. Hair must be of a natural color. In terms of our accessories, clothing, shoes, etc., we're just asking for hats, caps, and other head coverings to only be worn outside, not inside of the classroom. Any large dangling earrings, chains, or keys that are worn visibly are considered unsafe and are not acceptable, particularly in PE, where again, you'll be doing a lot of physical activity, and so we just want to make sure that you are safe. Earplugs or ear spikes and all facial piercings are not allowed for our students on campus. If you have that outside, that is completely fine, but here it is an academic setting. Hats, belts, books, binders, lunch bags, etc., adorned with any graffiti or alleging gang affiliations are not acceptable. So again, it's an academic setting. We want to make sure that our students feel safe here on campus. With our clothing, anytime that we do have free dress, or anytime that we venture off from our uniform, we ask that our clothes be sufficient to conceal undergarments at all times, that no see-through or fishnet fabrics, spaghetti straps, halter tops off the shoulder, low-cut tops or bare midriffs are worn. And then we do ask again that pants need to fit around the waist to be worn, and there is no skirts, skirts, or shorts higher than mid-thigh or 4 inches above the knee. And last but not least, we do ask that all of our students wear comfortable closed-toed shoes. So we should not see students with open-toed or backless shoes, no wedges, heels, or platforms. Although they may look great on you, we ask again, we're looking out for your safety here on campus. And then also shoes with wheels are not acceptable. This school year, we do have a brand new schedule. And so one thing that you will notice for those of you that have been on campus for several years with us, we used to start at 7:30. And so we have pushed back our start time for the entire school. And so we do ask that, again, you will drop off in one of the 3 zones. So if you were a Feaster student, you could drop off of Jefferson Avenue, the front of the school, or a staff parking lot. We will keep the same 3 ingress points. So middle school students can be dropped off at any location, or they could also walk and go through the gates at any of those 3 locations. We will have ingress from 8 to 8:15. So we will not be opening the doors prior to 8 o'clock. And so parents, we do ask that you drop off your students anywhere from 8 to 8:15, that they are not dropped off at 7:30, because again, we will not be opening up the gates to the school up until 8 o'clock. Class will begin on time at 8:15 in the morning, and dismissal will be at 3:15. So dismissal has not changed, it's just our start. And as usual, students will be spending half of their day with their homeroom teacher and half of their day with their non-homeroom teacher. So we are back to a normal middle school schedule where we are allowed to switch. For PE, our 7th grade students this school year will have PE on Wednesdays and Fridays, and our 8th graders will have physical education on Mondays and Thursdays. And most of our middle school students will have PE also on Tuesdays during their Mind Labs days. But again, more information will come with that. Students will receive their individual schedules the first week of school in their homeroom classes. And at the conclusion of our orientation today, at some point today, you will receive an email that will indicate your student's homeroom teacher. And so it's really important that you have a solid email address on file. That is where we will be communicating who your homeroom teacher is, who your student's homeroom teacher is, and that's where they will be reporting on the first day of class, which will be tomorrow. And so, again, if you have any questions at all, please type it in the Q&A, and we'll, again, continue to address it either through text or at the very end. I'll go ahead and turn it over to our PE coaches, who will go over their norms and expectations for their department.
Hi, everybody. Coach G again. I'm going to go over a couple of slides here regarding the PE classes for middle school. There's a lot of information, but you're going to get most of this in digital format soon anyway, so I'm not going to read directly from here. I will summarize. In PE in middle school, so many of you already know this, but it is a little bit different from PE in elementary school because we have more time with the students, and so we can get to a deeper level of teaching. And so in middle school, students are expected, obviously, to follow all of our uniform and behavior policies. But in the middle school PE program, we do a lot of physical activity based on workouts. Students do have their own personal individualized workouts. Students will also have heart rate monitors that they will wear on their wrists that will be signed out to them. We'll get to that and a little bit more about that in just a second. And those heart rate monitors will help determine their grade. Those heart rate monitors will monitor their heart rate while they're doing their physical activities. And so there's no judgment of how hard somebody's trying or what somebody's effort is. It's very much based on a literal translation of what their heart rate achievement is. In 7th grade, students are going to focus a lot on their fitness plans, which are individualized fitness plans that they will develop for themselves based on their personal fitness levels. We'll take them through that. That is a project that we'll be working on and pretty much every quarter. And students will receive a grade that is a large portion of their final grade that's attached to that. So I want students to be prepared to not only come here and move around and get a lot of physical activity, but also please be prepared to learn a lot of concepts, how to maintain your own fitness plan, a good amount of classroom time as well. There will be note taking, there will be quizzes and tests. And I'll get to a little bit more of a breakdown of that in just a second as well. And in normal times, the 7th graders also normally get a first aid and CPR AED certification that we will have an official one in class. We'll have to talk about whether or not that happens this year for obvious reasons, depending on the COVID situation. But normally, we do have our students get also first aid CPR AED certified. 8th grade focuses continues the fitness plans, but also focuses more on nutrition. So 8th graders will be keeping a food log where they'll be writing down how much food they got from each food group every time they come to class. And they'll be developing improvement plans as well based on food groups mostly. So students will be tracking whether or not they're meeting their daily targets and getting their nutritional requirements. So that's something that they can expect. Can we go to the next slide, please? In terms of grades, I wanted to just break down the different types of grades there are. The actual percentages, again, that will be in the packet that you guys receive. But there will be, the graded components include conceptual, such as written tests, iPad-based tests, and tests on proper exercise technique. We watch TED Talks and we do discussions and have summaries and written assignments as well based on that. So there are conceptual grades. The big part of their grade is the project, like I said earlier, the My Fitness Plan, My Health Plan project. Each one of those is usually about 25% of the quarter grade. So that is a major part of our grade. You can't just come to PE and run around and get an A. It doesn't happen. There are physical skills that we will be teaching, and those physical skills will be assessed as to whether or not students have attained mastery of those skills. Okay, so we'll be teaching them golf swing, we'll be teaching lacrosse skills and some other stuff as well. Obviously, workouts are a big part of what we do, so students are going to be graded based on the heart rate monitor grade they get, as well as some strength exercises they'll be doing. Those are their the physical grades. Students are very much in control of what their physical workout grades are. They're in control of it. They can achieve 100% every single time if they put the effort in. Makeups, just a note about makeups is students are responsible for knowing if they missed a workout or any assignment. They should ask the PE teacher anytime they're absent or they miss class for any reason. They can check Jupyter grades. If they see a missing assignment, it's up to them to come to us and find out what they're missing. So please be responsible students as well. The missed workout and missed assignment policy will be also included in your packet as well. Let me go to our next slide, please. Just a couple other notes. One note is on those heart rate monitor watches. They are $140 each. The wristband itself is $15. And so students will be signing an AUP just like they sign for iPads. And that AUP covers all of our PE technology because we do have PE iPads as well. But students are responsible for taking care of the heart rate monitors and using them appropriately. If they're not following the guidelines and something happens to the heart rate monitor, students will be responsible for paying up to $140 to replace the actual heart rate monitor itself. Or if it needs to be repaired, it may be more like along the lines of $40 or $80. But it could be up to $140 to replace the heart rate monitor. We will be going over the guidelines for that in class. We'll be sending them a packet on how to take care of it. So again, they'll have all that information, but if they're treating it appropriately, accidents happen and that's fine. But if they're not using it correctly and something bad happens, they can be financially responsible for one of those replacements or repairs. And one last thing, just I know things are different right now, but normally we have an open door policy for parents. We want communication, obviously, in general, in normal times, we would ask parents to contact us if they want to come in and watch a class or see what we do here. We'd love for you to see that. Obviously, things are a little different right now, but feel free to contact us at extension 291501 through Jupyter. We use Jupyter a lot for communication, so please be in as much communication as possible. I'd rather you over communicate than under communicate. And that's about it. So Coach Johnson's going to take over for the last couple of slides.
All right. Once again, hello, everybody. I have about like three slides that I'm going to quickly just go over. Dr. Slayman, if you can you switch to the next slide? So over the last few years, we've started a Fitness Achievement Award. And last year, unfortunately, we were not doing fitness testing because of obvious reasons. But this year, we are bringing it back. And it does go hand in hand with all the projects that they're going to be doing. And so a fitness award, in order for a student to receive one of these, they have to pass 5 or more of the healthy fitness zones. And basically, this is like PE's state standardized tests. They'll take it in 5th grade, which they already have before, 7th grade, and 9th grade is when it really counts. But we do this all throughout the year, both with our 7th and 8th graders, because we want to prepare them, obviously, for the future. So the test consists of a pacer that's running, and all the scores that they receive. It's pretty much based on their age. So whatever their age is, they'll take into account and then say that they have to receive a certain amount of pacers, and that's just running back and forth, or laps is what we call it. They have to be able to do a certain amount of push-ups, a certain amount of curl-ups. They have to be somewhat flexible, so they'll do what is called a sit and reach test, and then they'll also do what is called a trunk lift test to test your back strength or your muscles. The students are pretty familiar with these tests, and we will be doing this all throughout the year. So the goal is, if they don't achieve and get this fitness achievement award for passing 5 or more of the tests, there's always a chance for them to do that the next time that we go ahead and test for these tests. So we're hoping that we have lots of students passing this test for obvious reasons, not just because it looks good for our school, but because the more that they're reaching those healthy fitness zones and passing these scores based on their age, the healthier they are. And as you guys know, that we've had almost a year and a half of sitting around. So we definitely have our work cut out for us. And like I said, we really want you guys to be as healthy as possible, because we know in being healthy, you're also going to be somewhat happier. Okay. So that's that. Can we go ahead to the next slide? All right, so uniforms. This is a big one. Obviously, things were a little bit different towards the end of last year, right? Where you didn't have to wear a PE uniform, but coming back, you will have to wear a PE uniform. And as you guys see on the slide, if you look at the shirts, okay, you can wear a dry fit gray shirt, or it can be cotton, but they have to be t-shirts. No cutoff shirts, ladies and gentlemen, or students, I should say. We do not want other students to be distracted. So that's why we don't allow cutoff shirts. And then also, you can't wear a shirt with any type of logos on it, whether it's college. If it's a Feaster logo, and we do have Feaster shirts that we will probably end up giving to our athletes. Sometimes you'll see our athletes wearing that, or we may even open it up to the entire school where they can purchase some dry fit t-shirts that our athletes do wear for practices. And we do allow those. But for the most part, t-shirts need to be gray, okay, with no writing or logos on it. It has to be plain. Shorts, you can have black shorts. It doesn't have to be Adidas, although we have Adidas up there. It can be plain black shorts, or it can be black sweats. Like Dr. Slayman has already said, please no tights. As you guys see, there's a big old X through that. Once again, we want this to be all about learning when you guys come here, without any distractions, okay? So if we do see you in tights, whether male or female, we will have to send you to the office or give you a uniform notice slip, okay? And we don't want to do that. So just please make sure that you are, following the school uniform rules as far as PE goes. Jewelry, just like Dr. Slayman had mentioned earlier, please do not wear any jewelry, because we are going to be doing lots of physical activity that involve running around, and sometimes, especially if it's expensive, we've had students lose things, and things that might be precious to them. Maybe a parent gave it to them or grandparent. So we don't want anything lost or stolen. So just try to minimize wearing that stuff at school, period. But even more so in PE, we will not allow it. Now, if for religious reasons students are wearing necklaces, we still ask that you guys would take those off. And if there's any issues, like Coach Guglielmo has already said, and Dr. Slayman, we have an open door policy. You're always more than welcome to come and talk to us, give us a call on our extension, and or come see us, okay? And we'll discuss it and try to come up with a way that's going to work for both us and the student, and keep them safe, more importantly, at the same time. Shoes, athletic shoes. Now, we know that they can be expensive, but please, please, please try to make sure that your student has some type of athletic shoes when they come to PE, because as you guys know, taking care of your feet is very important. And when they're running and jumping and moving around, we want them to be comfortable, okay? So no flats. That's just like walking without shoes on concrete, bad for your feet, and ultimately just works its way up to your knees, your legs, your entire body. Obviously, no combat boots. Those are just too heavy, and it's hard to move around in those type of shoes, okay? So please make sure that you have some type of athletic shoe. It doesn't matter what brand it is. Just make sure that it's comfortable for the student, and that it fits, because they will be moving around a lot. Sweatshirts. If they have the burgundy sweatshirts, we are accepting those as well. If there's an issue at any point in time with getting a burgundy sweatshirt, because it does get cold later on in the school year, just let us know, and we will do our best to accommodate, but also making sure that we stay within the guidelines of our uniform policy. Okay. Can we go ahead and move on to the next slide? Thank you. All right, and last but not least, as Coach Guglielmo has already said, we will be sending you guys as soon as everything is up and running on Jupiter. We'll be sending it out to both the parents and the students so that you can see the PE rules, obviously the grading policy, uniform policy, everything that we've pretty much gone over right now, you guys will have access to. And if there's something that we didn't talk about or didn't touch base on today, you're always more than welcome to go ahead and type your questions in the chat, and we will get to it at the end, as Dr. Slayman has already said. Also, AUPs, we will be giving those physically out to the students tomorrow and throughout the rest of this week. For 7th graders, because we have them tomorrow, we're asking that the AUPs be signed and turned in by Friday. For 8th graders, because we will have them the Friday, I believe, they will have to turn those in by Monday. Okay. Outside of that, you know, like Coach Guglielmo said, we just want to encourage both parents and students to you know, be active in your child's health, not only here at school, but outside of school as well. We've been sitting around for a very long time, which is not healthy for us, and humans were never meant to just sit around. So, you know, get your child up and moving, take them for a walk, hiking, you know, find fun and creative ways to keep them active outside of school, and we'll do our job while they are here. So once again, remember, this is a partnership, parents. We never look to fail students. All we want is for them to be as healthy as possible. But at the end of the day, your student has to do the work. So if they have a low grade for whatever reason, you're always more than welcome to come talk to us. But more than likely, it's probably because they're having very little activity when they come here. So let's work together and let's, you know, help keep our students as healthy as possible. Thank you.
Great. We'll turn it over to Ms. Hale for the continuation of our presentation.
I think we're handing it over to Ms. Hotto for counseling. Is that correct? Then I'll take over.
Yes, sorry, saw the wrong slide. Ms. Hotto, you are on mute.
Give us just a moment. We're having some technical issues with the microphones.
Am I on?
You are on, Ms. Hotto. Thank you.
Yay. I was like, I kept clicking. It wasn't working. Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Mrs. Hara, the school counselor. For the first time ever here at Feaster, we have been able to hire 3 full-time school counselors, myself and 2 others, Mrs. Leon, who will be working with 3rd through 5th grade, and Mrs. Bravo, who will be working with TK through 2nd. So I am familiar with your students. I have been working with them for this will be my 3rd full year here at Feaster, so I am familiar with all of the students. I'm looking forward to continuing that partnership with our parents, especially to ensure the safety and success of all of our students. I just wanted to quickly go over some of the available services, how we run our counseling program here at Feaster. I love meeting with all of the students. I love being out there in the middle school and being able to talk to them, having them being able to visit just on a normal basis. However, when things change, when there's certain concerns, when parents are concerned, when teachers are concerned, that's when we go into the more in-depth services. And some of these are individual counseling, where I meet students one-on-one on a weekly basis, just for many different concerns or issues that may be going on. We also offer group counseling sessions. Sometimes it's organization, time management, academic success, attendance, things like that. We will offer group counseling services in which we invite a couple of the students from the middle school to join me once a week to be able to do those group counseling sessions. There's also opportunities to do in-class programming, so social emotional learning. Most of our teachers do, or all of our teachers do, a great job at implementing social emotional lessons within their curriculum already, but things like the Here Now program, which you will hear about in a few minutes, and other opportunities that may come up, gives me an opportunity to go into the classroom to teach a whole group lesson. And then we have community referrals, not only for students who may be needing outside therapy, counseling, or other services, but we also are here to support you, the parent. Anything that may be going on, any issues that you may be having, you can always come to us. We are have a partnership with the Family Resource Centers of Chula Vista. So any housing, financial issues, clothing, food, anything like that that you may be struggling with, we are here for you, and we can refer out to services. So please do not hesitate in making us your partner in being able to help you and then in turn also help your student at the same time. And finally, one of the things that we also do is crisis interventions. Because of the year and a half that we've just had, the year that we've had, and just the increasing pressures on social media and things like that, we do see an increase in mental health needs. So one of our priorities here at the Counseling Center will be the mental well-being of all of our students. And so because I work primarily with the middle school, I am capable and I can speak to your students about really tough situations, including suicidal ideation, self-harm, and then any family issues that may be going on. So I do speak to the students when they are in crisis, and we are here to, again, build that partnership with you and have that open communication at all times. We understand that we have them for half the day, you have them for the other half the day, so we have to work together in order to ensure the success of our students. So please do not hesitate in contacting me if there's ever any questions. Your students, because they're familiar with me, they feel very comfortable in coming to me. So I will be calling some of you, and I will be in touch with some of you very, very soon. And I look forward to continue working with all of you. Thank you.
All right, I will now take it away. Hopefully you can hear me, Angelica. Okay, great. So good morning, everyone. Again, thank you for being here. Again, my name is Miss Hale, one of the 7th grade English and history teachers here at Feaster. I'm going to go over a couple of policies and procedures in our middle school, starting off with our iPad and cell phone policy. So for our iPad policy, each student is going to have an iPad. We will likely not distribute these till the 2nd week of school. They do not have the option to purchase the iPads, but we will have them readily available for the students to use each day, and they will be able to take them home and borrow them. We highly, highly recommend students purchase the iPad insurance, which is $35. That's going to cover any of those damages that we foresee might happen naturally, scratches and things like that. The policies, when you do purchase insurance, though, unfortunately does not cover lost or stolen iPads. So please just keep that in mind. If a student does lose an iPad, he or she will be responsible for the replacement fee of $500 or replace the iPad itself. For cell phones, so we're going to make sure to adhere to this cell phone policy more closely this year. All cell phones need to be turned in to the student's homeroom teacher at the start of the day. Each teacher will collect them in their own designated bin, and then students will be able to retrieve their cell phones at the conclusion of the school day. If cell phones and or other electronic devices are visible or being used, they may be subject to confiscation by the school, or by another teacher. Sorry, I can't get that word out. If another cell phone or other electronic devices are brought to school, please just keep in mind that that is at student and parent risk. We never know what can happen at school, so just be cautious and conscientious of the devices you bring. Last but not least, if a student's cell phone is confiscated for whatever reason, a parent or guardian must be the one to pick it up. The student will not be able to retrieve it. If you have any further questions about the iPad and cell phone policies, please refer to your student's homeroom teacher once the school year gets started. Next, on to our behavior and conduct policy. So our academy, our middle school academy, adheres to these characteristics very closely. We have high expectations of our students. We expect them to be hard workers. We expect them to have good attendance, and we expect them to demonstrate appropriate behavior. If at any time we feel that students are failing to demonstrate excellence in these 3 areas specifically, students may be placed on a behavioral contract. Failure to improve in these areas could result in the students being removed from the program. So we do ask that our students and our parents and our guardians help us to adhere to these policies, and every student's teacher will be there to support and be in close communication about behavioral concerns and other matters related to conduct. For grading and award requirements, so grading will go more in depth with each of your students' homeroom teachers. Will go more in depth with grading, so students have a really clear understanding of what to expect for their first year, especially for our incoming 7th graders, switching over to Jupiter and utilizing our new grading system. But for the most part, the gist of it, you can see there on the left-hand side, our letter scales follow from an A, B, C, D, and F. And then on the citizenship side on the right, each student usually every quarter and for every subject is given not only a letter grade, but also a citizenship grade of E, S, N, or U. For the grading and progress reports, you should expect to receive a progress report for your student at the end of quarter 1. At the end of quarter 2, you will receive a final semester report card. At the end of quarter 3, another progress report. And at the end of quarter 4, a semester 2 final grade. Every quarter, we do offer opportunities for students to achieve different awards. So we like to recognize and reward those accomplishments like honor roll. We do that every quarter in all class areas in the core classes. So math, English, history, and science, PE, and elective. So if a student is eligible for honor roll, they will receive a 3.5 or higher GPA in all classes for that one specific quarter and will be recognized at our quarter award assembly. Our other awards that we include are character strength awards. They are awarded every quarter as well, and usually about 3 per homeroom. The character strengths vary each different quarter. We have 2 designated character strengths we focus on. So each quarter, there's an opportunity for students to achieve those awards. And last but not least, at the very end of our school year together, we honor with presidential awards. So each teacher will select from their classes 2 of the most improved students in each cohort for math, science, and English and history, and then a gold award where it will be the top 2 students in each cohort for math and science and ELA and social studies. We look forward to our first quarter award assembly at the end of quarter 1. So please hang tight for information about that as the time comes. Next piece here is Jupiter. Students likely have not been very familiarized with Jupiter because they do not use it as much in the lower grades. So in middle school, we do strictly use Jupiter as our main tool for grades, communication, attendance, report cards, etc. So Jupiter is going to be our best friend, and we are going to make sure the students are well acclimated in how to access and utilize the program, as well as getting parents and guardians set up with parent accounts. Jupiter is very handy because students will have access whenever they need to their grades, their test scores, their homework, their assignments, their messages, their attendance, etc., report cards. So we will make sure to get the students oriented on how to utilize Jupiter. We will use it daily, and we will also make sure that parents are connected and we are communicating with you how to get connected very soon. Each individual homeroom teacher will work with their homeroom class and their cohort to get sign-up sheets sent out to students very soon. So stay tuned for more information about Jupiter. And I think this is my last slide here I'll go over. So for study hall intervention, we do want to make sure that we are helping our students be successful and pass all of their classes. So there is an expectation that all students are maintaining a C average in all classes. Any student that is failing any class will be required to stay the following week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Fridays after school until they are no longer failing their course. Students will be pulled from their electives to work with our intervention teachers if they need additional support in a specific content area. Parents of students eligible for study hall will be contacted the Friday prior via Jupiter Ed and through a phone call. So Miss Melissa at the front office does a wonderful job of communicating to parents and families And those messages are sent out every Friday so that every family, student, and parent is aware of their students' academic progress and as far as their need to attend study hall the following week. So us parents, students, we ask that you keep up with the work, and if you don't, this is what we are going to do and implement to support you as study hall and intervention. I think that's about it. More information to come from your homeroom teachers, of course, but thank you for listening. I'm going to hand it off to Mrs. Morris.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. So we're running a little short on time here, so I'm going to keep it brief. There also is a link in the chat for this PowerPoint, so you can download it, and I highly suggest you start taking some screenshots here. So community service. This is something that we always usually have. We forgoed it last year because of the situation, but we really want to get our kids back out and learning how to give back to their community. It's an important skill. We value it. We want to bring that back. Next slide, please. Graduation requirements. We'll go over this a lot during parent conferences because it can be a little tricky to understand. But basically, each semester, kids take 6 classes. The goal is to pass those 6 classes. By the end of the year, you have 12 classes, and so you earn 12 units. After your 2 years in middle school, the goal is you've passed all your classes each semester, so you have a total of 24 classes passed. For graduation, we require at least 21 of those classes to have been passed, which means they can afford 3 Fs. Obviously, we don't want that. That's why study hall exists. But that is what our graduation requirements are. So a total of 21 out of 24 credits, and that's a D- or higher, which will allow them to pass and participate in all promotion activities. Supply list. So some of you are asking about what to bring the first day. We have tons of supplies, so please do not feel like you have to rush out and go get everything today. But this is our suggested supply list. Binder for organization. All right, we want the kids not shoving everything in their backpacks. They turn into big trash bins. We want to avoid that. Organization is key to success. So a binder, whatever size works for them. Dividers for each of their subjects. Notebooks. Personally, I have all their notebooks, all right? We have everything, and so spiral notebooks, everything tends to tear out. We like composition notebooks better, but if your student is dying for something, whatever, that's fine. Pencils, multicolored pens, college ruled paper. We're not wide ruled, we're not in elementary anymore. College ruled is what we need. Expo markers, erasers, highlighters, post-it notes, and a pencil pouch. All right, all of this is what you are welcome to purchase for your student. But again, all of our classrooms are well equipped with all these supplies. We will get your students ready the first week of school. So please don't feel like you have to. Electives will start August 2nd. And so you can see here, these are the electives to choose from. We have agri-science, AVID, world cultures, which will be taught in Spanish. Astronomy, photography, coding, journalism, African American history, social problems, world religions, and women's studies. So when students arrive at school, we'll go through all these. They'll get to choose their electives and we'll get them signed up. It is a requirement for middle school students to have an elective every semester. It goes on their transcript and follows them to high school. One thing to note is that if they do choose AVID, it is a year-long commitment, which means they'll only have 1 elective this year. Vaccinations and physicals. So it is California law that we require all children to be immunized. They're only exempt if a parent or guardian submits a written statement from their doctor. So what we need in the health office as soon as possible is their Tdap booster, the vaccination records, and the physical. Physical is super important, especially for PE. Okay. First day of school, this is probably what you're all waiting for. So 7th graders, this is your first experience in middle school, so listen up. You will be here Wednesday, tomorrow. You're considered late after 8:15, so please keep that in mind. And first day of school is always a minimum day, so you are out at 1:30, okay? All middle school students will report to their homerooms, and like Dr. Slayman said, that's coming through in an email, so make sure you check that. Of course, if you're wandering around out here, we'll save you. If you are in my homeroom or Mr. Frazier's homeroom, you will go to the PE field first, all right? Inevitably, someone's gonna wander up here. Don't worry, we will help you out. I will be nice to you on your first day. But my homeroom and Mr. Frazier, you go to PE. Everyone else, 8th grade, also goes to homeroom first. All right. So that means that 7th graders, you need to come in your PE. And that means in Hale's homeroom and Hazelton's, you will have PE, just not first thing in the morning. You still need to dress in your PE so you're ready to go. We change into our uniforms later. 8th graders, you just come in regular school uniform on your first day. And then Thursday will be your PE day. You should know the drill, all right? But if you have questions, please feel free to ask any of us on the first day. But 7th graders, PE tomorrow. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Morris. And so we just want to end our part 1 of our orientation with just answering just a brief questions. We've already sent some of them on the chat, but I feel some questions need to be broadcasted to all. So we've had a couple of questions about breakfast, and so we will not be offering breakfast like we used to at 7 o'clock in the morning. Instead, our students will have an opportunity to get breakfast during their snack times. And so for 7th graders, snacks begin around 9:40 a.m. For our 8th graders, that begins around 10 a.m. And so students will have an opportunity to get breakfast at that time. However, if it is too late, we do recommend that they eat obviously something at home prior to getting to school in the morning, since we will not be offering the breakfast at 7 a.m. In terms of, yes, PE will kick off starting tomorrow and will continue on the rest of the week. So students, again, if you are in Miss Morris and Mr. Frazier's, you know that you report straight to PE the first day, and 7th graders, all of our 7th grade students do need to come in their PE uniform tomorrow, as everyone will have PE tomorrow. Our homeroom teachers, you will know who your homeroom teacher is. Again, you will get an email later on this afternoon from the school, so look for that in your inbox. That will have your student's homeroom teacher assigned to them, so that way you know where to report. And then last but not least, we have a couple of questions in terms of what they need to bring on the first day. So the only thing really you need to bring on the first day, make sure, is just your uniform, something to write with, possibly your snack or lunch if it is that you're packing that. The rest will be provided to you. And we will be around if in case, again, you get lost. We will make sure that we are there to support you. In terms of electives, we will provide the electives descriptions for students the first week of school. And so that way, parents, you have some time to look over the elective descriptions with students. So that way you can select an elective with your student that you feel is more appropriate for them. So again, we want to thank you so much for being with us. This is just part 1. We are going to go on to part 2 of our orientation, where I'm going to hand it off to Ms. Gonzalez and our South Bay Community Services team, who are with us this morning for a very important topic. And so I'll go ahead and hand it off to Ms. Gonzalez.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Berenice Gonzalez. I'm the program coordinator for the Here Now program we are a suicide prevention and intervention program for middle school and high school students. I'm joined here with Yvette, who's also going to be presenting with me, and I also have Brianna, who's going to be sharing her screen. We have a little PowerPoint to share. I do want to remind everyone that this presentation is for parents and guardians only, as we're going to be sharing some important information about our program and some warning signs that you can be looking out as parents and guardians that can help, support your youth. So the way this program works, we've been in the South Bay working in the schools for this is our 6th year in the schools. This is actually our first time doing the suicide prevention at Feaster, so we're really excited to be here. And it works in 3 parts. The first part is to talk to the parents and the guardians about our program, about the way it works and things and helpful tips for parents. The second part would be to do a similar presentation to the staff that we're going to be doing that next week. so that they know what warning signs to look out for too. And a lot of times, teachers are a trusted adults, just like Miss Hato had mentioned. They're half the time they're at school, half the time at home. So while they're at school, who are those trusted adults that they could go to if they need support? And then the week of the 16th, August 16th, and correct me if I'm wrong, Angelica, that's the week that we'll be providing the suicide prevention curriculum to the 7th and 8th graders. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Yvette, who's going to be talking about the protocol and how the program is going to look like for the kiddos, and then I'll go into the warning signs for the second part of the presentation. Perfect, thank you, Bere. And I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Can you give me a thumbs up if sound is okay? Awesome, thank you. Okay, thank you for having us this morning at your presentation. Sounds really exciting to be back to school tomorrow. Before we move forward with our programmatic details, I do want to touch on the very important topic of safe space. So safe space pretty much acknowledges that today we're going to be talking about suicide prevention and warning signs, and this can be a difficult topic for some. So if you are uncomfortable at any time, please connect with someone immediately. On the bottom here, we provided you some resources that are available for free to anyone, 24/7, and are confidential. So there's the Access and Crisis Line, the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and the Crisis Text Line. So of course, feel free to use those outside of this presentation, and we'll go into more detail about resources later on today. All right. So the reason our program is really important is because suicide is the second leading cause of death for individuals between the ages of 11 and 18. 90% of those who die by suicide do display warning signs, and 70% of those do tell a friend first. So basically a couple of statistics there, right? And the main idea that we want you all to take away from this is that there is a high percentage of people who will show warning signs or clues that they're going through these unsafe thoughts or maybe thinking about suicide. So what's most important is that we educate our community, our youth, our parents about what these warning signs or clues are. That way we could identify them with the people around us, and we can provide them with the most appropriate support. And remember that depression is treatable and suicide is preventable. Okay, so the here now focus. Our program focus is to prevent suicide by educating youth, families, and the community about risk factors and warning signs. We use a curriculum called Signs of Suicide, or SOS, and it is age appropriate when we provide that on August 16th. The purpose of this is to reduce the stigma around seeking help for youth themselves and for others. And of course, like Betta mentioned earlier in the presentation, we do provide information for parents and for staff, and the reason for that is we really want to create this supportive school culture and environment that will help youth seek help and really know what to do if they identify these signs within themselves or with others, and of course help youth thrive. Okay, so how exactly do we do this? Next slide. So during the week of August 16th, we create a Check Your Mood week. We provide classroom presentations using that SOS curriculum, which will teach students to identify the warning signs of depression and suicidal tendencies. We also provide resources and tools to seek help for themselves or a friend, as well as teach about healthy coping skills or healthy coping behaviors. There is an opportunity for youth to check in with the Here Now staff one-on-one. That's the one-on-one support. And of course, we also touch on the importance of reporting bullying. Next slide. Okay, and the main message that we really promote for our youth is our ACT or ACT message. So we encourage them to acknowledge that your friend has a problem or is displaying warning signs. We encourage them to care. Let the person know that you're concerned about them and that you want them to get appropriate and professional help. And of course, to tell a trusted adult. And the reason telling a trusted adult is important is because we want to provide them that support to navigate that conversation with a friend, and also to give the right and appropriate resources if necessary. Next slide.
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, there is an opportunity for youth to check in one-on-one with a Here Now staff member. The way that works is that during the presentation, we will be providing them with a survey, and there's a question on here that says, do you want to check in with a Here Now staff member? If they select one of the top two options that I want to talk about, to talk to someone about myself or a friend, or have a question about the presentation, then that's when they'll have an opportunity to check in with one of us and our staff. And they could also deny, so I do not want to talk to someone about myself or a friend, right? So what exactly happens during that one-on-one check-in? So during that check-in, the staff will assess for any harm indicators, any warning signs, any safety concerns. We will help the youth identify trusted adults, their strengths, and their healthy coping skills. And of course, we will, if appropriate, develop plans for safety, complete necessary school safety measures, as well as contact the youth parent or guardian if there are any safety concerns. And then we could also connect the youth with community referrals or resources if there is a need for follow-up. Any questions on this so far? Please feel free to type it on the chat. I know I kind of breezed through everything pretty quickly. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it over back to Berenice. Again, if you have questions, feel free to type them on the chat.
All right, thank you so much. And then, and anyone's available to stop me if someone has a question too. So now I'm going to go into the next part. I think I'm going to do a thumbs up, thumbs down if you're able to. So I have a little question here. Thumbs up or thumbs down, talking to a youth about suicide or asking a teen if they're suicidal is risky because it might put the idea in their head. Thumbs up if you think that's true, thumbs down if you think that is false. I can't really see many people, so
Ms.
or
Gonzalez,
you can
actually, it's a
what the
Microsoft.
answer is in your head, and I'll let you know the answer in a few seconds. All right, so if you did a thumbs down or if you said false, then you are correct. So so there's a big myth out there that talking about suicide or bringing it up, yes, is the chat available? I wasn't sure if the chat was available. Okay, there it is, awesome. Okay, and so you can definitely, put some responses in there too. Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's a big myth out there that if we talk about suicide, if we ask our kiddos if they're suicidal, we're going to teach them what that means, or we're going to plant that idea. Plant that idea into their head, and then all of a sudden they're going to become suicidal. And that is absolutely false. Actually, the opposite is true. The more that we talk about suicide, when we ask someone if they're suicidal, we're giving them permission to be open and honest about how they've been feeling, about what's been going on. So if you ask someone about that, you're giving them that permission. You're saying it's okay to talk about it. So we really want to reduce that stigma that it's okay to talk about mental health. We all need help at some point, even adults, right? We need support as well, especially after everything we've gone through, and really normalizing that it's okay to talk about it. Next slide. All right, I'm not going to go too much deep into this, but basically there was a big survey done where they asked parents and their teens. If they asked the parents, do you think your child's ever been suicidal? And then they asked their child if they ever were suicidal. So out of all the teens, over 400 of these 5,000 teens said that they did have suicidal thoughts. But how many of those parents do you think knew about it? Well, according to this study, about half those parents had no idea that their child were suffering with suicidal thoughts. And that's not uncommon in our experience. Most of the parents that we have to talk to had no idea. And this is not to scare you or not to shame anyone, but most kiddos don't want to tell their parents because they're scared of what they're going to say. They're scared of how they're going to react. They know that their parents have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of stress already. They don't want to burden their parent. These are some common reasons why students don't want to come forward. And so I share this just to kind of normalize that if you do have a student that is going through some things, or you find out that they've been going through some things for a long time, know that sometimes there's a lot of shame behind having suicidal thoughts and mental health concerns. And so again, we want to normalize and say that it's okay. The most important thing is that we're talking about it, and we can get you the help that you need. Next slide. Okay, so what does it mean when a child or teen is suicidal? It means that they are thinking about or planning to take their own life. And in most cases, young people and just people in general, they really don't want to die. It's that they want to end the pain, and they really don't see no other option on how they're going to end this pain. And we have to remember that our youth and our teens, their brains are still developing. And so they sometimes don't have that flexibility in thinking, right? They can't really explore those options. They don't know that, life will go on, and we will overcome these barriers, these challenges. What is a big deal right now, not going to be a big deal 10 years later. They have a hard time kind of conceptualizing that. And so it's our responsibility as adults. We've been through some of these things as teens, and kind of relationship issues and peer issues, and we want to be that source of support and help them explore other options that are healthy and safe. Next slide. So what is our role as a trusted adults in our youth lives? So at first I want to go over some key risk factors. Risk factors don't necessarily mean that someone's going to be suicidal. It means that it can increase their chances of developing warning signs, which can lead to suicidal thoughts. So most people that die by suicide have a mental health condition, most commonly depression. And what we know about mental health conditions is that most of the symptoms start now in adolescence, those teenage years. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't get help until 10, 20, 30 years down the line, if they get help. And so what we know is that the earlier someone gets help and support and mental health treatment, the better it's going to be long term for them, and the less likely they're going to relapse on those mental health symptoms or suicidal thoughts. And so we want to catch it early on. Another risk factor is substance use. Alcohol, drug use, it impairs our judgment. People are more likely to do risky behaviors or act on impulse if they're under the influence. Also, I want to take a moment and address prescription medications here. Because they're so easily accessible, we have those cabinets at home, right? And so what I'm really urging parents and guardians to do is to get rid of all those unused or expired prescription medications, any type of med that you don't need at home. Please get rid of those because those can really be lethal and cause a lot of damage if someone overdoses or takes those. So there's different ways you can dispose of them. You can go to pharmacies, a lot of police stations. You can also call 211 to see where your nearest box is to dispose. A lot of them are anonymous, no questions asked. You can get rid of them safely. And so I really urge parents to really get rid of medications that are unused. If you have people in your home that are in crisis or have suicidal thoughts, and you have medications, maybe just leave out just a very minimal amount of a pill or two in the Tylenol, or if you're going to leave it out, and then you can lock away the other ones. That way they're not easily accessible to people who maybe are vulnerable or are high risk. So that's something that we have been urging parents. There's unfortunately one of the main ways that youth attempt suicide is through overdose, and so we really want to try to minimize access. Also, limiting access to firearms. Also, you can call 211. There are some programs that give away free gun safes, or they can give some guidance on what to do, where you can maybe safely store a firearm if there's someone in crisis at home. Another risk factor would be self-injury, someone self-harm. I'll talk about that in a slide later on. That means someone's harming themselves. That could be a risk factor to suicidal thoughts. And then bullying. We know that those that get bullied and the bully themselves are at risk for developing symptoms of depression, which can lead to suicide. And so now that we're coming back on school campus, we definitely want to keep an eye out for those who are experiencing bullying, whether cyberbullying or online. Here's a really good website, www.stopbullying.gov. It's a really helpful site for parents, teachers, adults to kind of look at, and they give you information on bullying. They give tips on how you can support, and they offer the website in English and Spanish, and so that's available as well to check out. Next slide, please. All right, so what are some warning signs to look out for? So the main reason here, the main kind of takeaway from this slide is, you know your child best. And so if you notice any significant major changes in behaviors that are consistent, that's something to look into. Some of these things might be extreme withdrawal and isolation. A lot of people were forced to be isolated and withdrawn last year, and that we saw a lot of mental health impacts because of that. So we want to be on the lookout for that as students are going back to school, if they're still withdrawing and isolating from others, whether at school or at home. Other major changes: too much sleep, too little sleep. Sometimes our body communicates with us that something's not right, and that could be either through like the sleeping changes, maybe eating too little, too much. Those could be indications. If you're noticing increased anger and agitation, it's out of context for them. And so I want to take a pause and say that teens are moody, right? They have their ebbs and flows when it comes to mood, and that's normal. And they usually go back to baseline, right? They can usually then kind of cope and get through on their day. We're talking about consistence, right? It's every day they're just kind of in this funk or irritability, and they just can't seem to get back to baseline, no matter what they try to kind of cope with, no matter how you try to kind of soothe and support that. That can be an indication that at least a conversation needs to be had about what's going on here. If you're noticing any self-harm too, and also listening for what they're saying. Unfortunately, our youth aren't going to, sometimes they do, but unfortunately, most times they're not going to come forward and be like, I've been experiencing these warning signs, these symptoms. I need support, and I need to go to counseling right now, right? They're going to give you other clues. They're going to either talk about suicide. I don't want to be here anymore. What's the point? I want to go be with, grandma in heaven, or, they kind of say these things. So it's really important that we check in and say, hey, you just said something that, caught me and off guard. I'm a little worried. You said you don't want to be here anymore. Are you thinking about suicide? And I'll give a little bit of some tips on how to have those conversations in a bit. But you definitely want to stop and pause if someone's talking about suicide, or they're sounding hopeless, or feeling like things are never going to get better. That's that emotional pain that we really want to address. So any major things that you see changes. Next slide. And then at the end, we're going to give a screening tool where you can do your own depression screening with your child if you'd like to. So stay tuned for that resource at the end. So self-injury. So when someone causes harm to themselves without the intention of dying. So when someone self-harms, doesn't mean that they want to die. It means that they are having so much of this emotional pain that they don't know what to do with it. So they will harm themselves. And it looks differently. Most commonly with teens, we see cutting, on the wrist, forearms, thighs, belly. A lot of teens do this in secret. So you'll see it, they'll try to hide the scars, or they'll try to do it in the bathroom or in the shower with a razor. A lot of them, are ashamed for what they're feeling and don't know how to ask for help. So they'll do this in secret. Or right now it's really hot outside. Some teens will wear, sweaters and long sleeves to try to hide their scars. Now there's some teens that, for some reason it's 90 degrees outside and they feel comfortable in a sweater, and I don't know how they do it, but just as something to be on the lookout for. Another thing with boys particularly, we see them, they might be punching walls, or, starting fights with other people. These could be, a way to cause self-injury for themselves. So something also to keep in mind. Next slide here. Okay, just like we talked about, they do this because they're trying to cope with feelings, remembering their brains are not fully developed. They don't know how to cope in a healthy way. So it's our job to kind of to not punish or discipline, but to kind of help cope in a healthy way. Next slide, please. All right, so what can we do as parents, maybe grandparents, adults in our youth's lives when we're noticing these warning signs? Next slide. So just like we teach our youth, we do the same thing with our parents and our staff, is acknowledging that there's a problem here, right? Not saying, you know, oh, they're going to grow out of it, they're going to get over it. You know, I went through worse things and you look at me, you know, I made it through. We don't want to minimize someone's experience or problems if they're really struggling, right? Everyone is different. So we really want to acknowledge that something is really happening and going on here. We want to care, right? We don't want to, you know, like I mentioned, punish. We want to care and say, I'm really concerned about you. I care about you. I want you to be well. And then, you know, asking, telling a trusted adult as well. And that could be, you know, if the counselors here on campus, reaching out to them to see how they can support, maybe, you know, someone else that you can, that you trust in your life that maybe you need to talk to about this and kind of vent and get, you know, air some of your own feelings and process about this. It's always good to get support. And at the end, we'll have some resources for parent support as well. Next slide. All right, so talking to our children, that's a really, it's a skill, a really hard skill to have, especially with our teens, right? A lot of times they don't want to talk. So it can be really tough for families. It's not for most people. I know for my family growing up, even till this day, it's hard to talk about mental health. It's not talked about like physical health, right? We know like, okay, you got to eat healthy, you got to exercise, you got to brush your teeth and this and that and the third. That's easy to talk about, right? We can talk about that like that in our sleep. But when it comes to mental health, that's a little bit more challenging. It's not as normalized as physical health. So some little tips that we have is get in the habit of asking open-ended questions, meaning questions that don't that need a little bit more of a detail. So versus yes or no questions, right? So if we say, did you have a good day at school today? You know, what answer are you going to get? Yes, no, or meh, or you might just get ignored, right? So you're not giving them the option to kind of further elaborate versus tell me a little bit about how your first day went today, right? You're asking them to tell you in detail how things went, right? You might need some prompting, right? And then voicing concerns too. Like for example, if I'm concerned about Yvette, I can say, Yvette, I noticed that, you know, these first couple days at school, you've been coming home and you've been, you know, just going to your room, not wanting to eat. I'm a little worried about you. Tell me a little bit more about what happened at school, or tell me how these first week is going for you, and kind of letting them give you detail. And of course, sometimes they're going to not want to talk, and that's okay. Just affirming your presence and saying it's okay if you don't want to talk right now, but if you do want to talk in the future, I'm available. Or sometimes kids, you know, they're like, ooh, like I feel more comfortable talking to my mom versus my dad, and I don't want my dad to feel bad about that. So saying, you know, like, hey, it's okay. If you don't want to talk to me, that's okay. If you prefer talking to your dad or your grandparent or your aunt or uncle or whoever, you know, that's okay as long as you have someone to talk to. Not rushing to solve the problem. As parents and adults, we want the best for our kiddos. We want to fix all their problems so that they're problem free, right? But sometimes that causes more harm than good, right? One of the main complaints we get from our teens is my parents don't listen, right? They don't care. They just, you know, they just tell me what to do. Just saying, hey, you know, that sounds like a really difficult problem between you and your friend. You know, that must have been really hard for you. You know, tell me a little bit more about that. Or how can I support you? And just, you know, letting them talk and vent. And sometimes it helps when it's in a pressurized play. So like taking a walk, maybe you're cooking together. Sometimes it's easier when the focus is on something else than just kind of sitting front to front. But you know, you try little things out and see what works for you. We always want to try to talk in a calm space. We may be really angry, really upset by what they say to us, but you know, calm is confidence. Stay calm in that moment, and then later on have your own like trusted person that you can vent to and talk to. And managing our own reactions is really important. It's really hard, but very important. All right, next slide here. Okay, so intervention. So if you're worried that someone is, your child is suicidal, it's really important in these cases that we ask directly. You know, if Yvette's my child, Yvette, you know, I'm really worried about you. You know, sometimes when people get really upset, they think about suicide. Are you thinking about killing yourself? And asking, you know, that direct question. And then going on from there, depending on what they say. You know, if they say yes, okay, you know, tell me a little bit more about that. You know, do you have a plan on how you want to end yourself and in your life? And then calling 911 if someone is in imminent danger. No one's going to get, you know, in trouble, but this is for the safety of the person who is in crisis. Limiting access to lethal means if someone is in crisis or if they have history of, you know, harming themselves, you want to reduce those means. And then highlighting protective factors. What is going well? You know, is there a good support system? Is there spiritual beliefs in that family? Does the family, you know, are they all really good at, you know, a particular activity or Yahtzee or whatever it is? Really honing into that, you know, those really protective factors. And they can be small too. And then, you know, connecting to the school counselors, you know, your school feaster is so passionate about the mental health of your children, so much so that they, you know, reached out to me last school year to be here for this school year. And so it's really important to see what options we have. There's a lot of mental health support is now being available at school. So it's really important to see what your options are, even if no one's in crisis at home, just knowing what's available. And then also connecting with other parents, because you're not alone in raising your teens. Next slide. Almost done here. Okay, so and we'll have some time for some questions and answers in a little bit, but I really want to spend a few minutes. Yvette's going to go over some resources that you can access right now to get more support.
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, there is an online screening tool that parents can use to screen for adolescent depression. So if you're interested to learn more about the screening tool or our curriculum, you can go on this website here on the bottom, sosscienceofsuicide.org/parent. This is our curriculum website. And again, the screening tool is to identify if the youth is displaying any warning signs and could be at risk for depression. But know that it is not a diagnosis tool, just something that can help identify warning signs and therefore more of a foundational step to seek more long-term or more appropriate support. Okay, next slide. Some other resources that we will share with our youth, and I know in the interest of time I'd be rushing through this, so feel free to take your screenshots, of course. So we have the San Diego Access and Crisis Line, again, available 24/7. It's confidential and free to anyone. They also have a text option, 741-741. There is the Trevor Project, which is specific for LGBTQ youth, and we know that youth of this population are at higher risk for warning signs and developing depression or peer issues. I won't go through all of it, but the National Suicide Prevention Line, there's a warm line. So if someone is not in an emergency or crisis, but would like to seek emotional support or learn more about resources, they can use the warm line. For parents and youth specifically, there's the California Parent and Youth Helpline, and they also have that website available. Of course, on the bottom, we put our own agency, SBCS, our hotline. We also provide other support in terms of family stabilization, food, transportation, housing, etc. So I'm sure you've all heard of our wonderful program. Feel free to use that number if needed. And at the bottom, of course, we acknowledge that we have all gone through a difficult time during the pandemic. So if somebody does need emotional support specifically for COVID, please feel free to click that website or go to that website, and they update this. This is from the county, and they update it regularly with what resources are available in our area. Okay, so this is the opportunity to ask questions. Of course, I believe you need to use the Q&A for those. And while people are typing in their questions, we do have this link which we will send. And you can feel free to take this after the presentation or at some point today, but we do have a survey more for our programmatic needs, just to learn more about the demographic and population that we're serving. So we're going to send that in just a moment. But yeah, if you have any questions, I will go ahead and mute myself if you want to unmute or if you'd like to type.
Okay, so parents, if I still see that we are all still here, if you wouldn't mind any questions that you have for Ms. Gonzalez or Yvette, please go ahead and use the Q&A feature. If you would like to be contacted individually, you can leave your contact information as well, if you don't want to ask a question in the public forum. So we'll give it just a couple of seconds to see if any questions come in, or if you have any questions related to orientation, we're continuing to answer questions through the chat.
Angelica, is there a question for me by Ileana? Is that a parent?
She is one of our students.
Oh, one of our students. Okay. And can everyone see that question, or is that? Okay. So to just kind of briefly, I guess, or kind of generally answer that question, if, there is a student, or if there's another student, at school that maybe feels like their parents won't understand about, what they're going through. That's why we're here on campus, right? We have your school counselors. We're going to be available on campus as well to speak to, individually about that. And, we have, sometimes we also talk to parents, and sometimes you need like another adult to talk to a parent, just to kind of talk about, the importance of mental health and the importance of seeking support. And most of the time, parents are understanding when someone from the school or, another, mental health professional talks to the parents. I hope that answers the question.
Great. Well, I do not see anything else in the chat at this moment, and so I just, too respectful of time, I just wanted to thank Bere. Thank you so much for you and your team to be here with us and partnering with us this school year. Parents, we care deeply about not only the academics of your children, but also their social emotional development, and want to make sure that they are healthy in every single way, in every single aspect. And so if you ever do anything, you know where to reach us, and we're here again as a support. We're 50% of your day, and you are the other half, and so your partnership is critical to us. So we will just hang out for about one more minute till 9:30. If in case you have any additional questions that have not been answered, please go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll continue to answer questions as they come. But again, thank you so much, Bere, for you and your team, and thank you so much on behalf of the middle school team. Thank you, parents, for joining us. We're so excited to see your students tomorrow here on campus. Again, you'll be receiving that link from from us at some point today to disclose who their homeroom teacher will be, and that's not just for middle school, it is for every single student on campus. We will be sending that out at some point today. We also, if you are anxious and did not leave a email address with us, at the front of our school, we will also have our classrooms displayed. So if you do want to come on campus, just take a look really quickly at what classrooms there are and do not want to wait for an email, that is totally fine. You're welcome to stop by. And so on behalf of the middle school team, thank you so much. And we can't wait to see our students back on campus tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody.